Adit, what's your viewpoint? India today imports oil from Russia. The Gulf is, that's a balancing act that we're doing, and increasingly the United States, indirectly Venezuela. Is this deliberate diversification the core of our current energy strategy? Take a look at what's happening here back at home and how all the ministers have time and again emphasized that India's energy security and energy priority and requirements are going to be paramount. So this diversification, which in the run-up to this debate and discussion, we've had so many other panelists. You've been on some of those shows, and they've constantly spoken about diversification. Yesterday's enemy does not need to be today's enemy. So this balancing act, why reliance from Jamnagar to Texas, and does it reap any benefit nationally for us?
I think diplomacy is not done by diplomats.
Ambassador, let me bring in Adit Kothari. I'm going to come back to you, Ambassador.
Just echoing, Ambassador Bhatia's sort of motion from there on. Yes, of course, we do not have, clarity on what the deal between Reliance Industries and America First Refinery is. That is still, as Ambassador Bhatia put out, still speculative to best of our interests. But we know that a deal has been stitched up. AFR has indicated that the total cost of investment towards this project is going to be roughly about $4 billion, and they will be turning around 300 billion circa across their operations of the next 20 years. From an Indian prism of things, I think it enhances India's standing in the sort of India-US ties. But when we look at the conversation around the diversification, I don't think, yes, in hindsight, we can say that, this is in future, it will pave a way for our diversification eventually. But in the short term, especially in and around this particular war that we are all entangled in, I don't think it gives us any sort of a leverage from that perspective. The whatever the deal is today, whenever they start producing that oil, whenever they start rolling them out into the market, Reliance objective here is basically to take that as a supply chain and redistribute it globally. You've got to bear in mind that you yourself have alluded to that United States did not have that kind of technology to basically refine that oil. Whereas Jamnagar, if you look at the history of Jamnagar, they today are turning around somewhere around 216 different kind of variants of oil, including the light sweet ones. So from that perspective, they already have the know-how, they have the technology, and all they're doing is they are doing a little bit of a tech transfer across the Atlantic into the United States, and they will, we don't know whether there is a direct investment cost involved or not. But for now, all we know is that they will be buying that oil and redistributing it globally. I hope there is enough investment from a Reliance perspective, because it gives India that sort of economic leverage in the United States, something that we've always spoken about to counter sort of China's, sort of ability in the United States, where they've created US jobs, where they've looked at tech transfer, where they have leveraged their sort of policy in the United States. So it gives India that sort of leeway in the United States.
But then again, you're saying it's too soon. It's still early doors to understand something like that. I mean, I was here thinking that this could be a long-term energy supply corridor between India and the United States.